With what looks like new driver releases just around the corner from all the big manufacturers, I pose to you a question. Should you go shopping on Amazon and find a driver for sub £110? Is it going to be any good? Well, that's what I've done. Wrong head cover. I've mixed them up just to confuse myself. Well, that's what I've done. Is this cheap rubbish, or is it the best value driver on the internet? Let's find out. Mazel Z35 single weight driver off Amazon, so you don't have to. As you can see, it actually looks quite like the Cleveland launcher, doesn't it? It's got that lovely gold face. On Amazon, it does claim to have quite a lot of technology, so we'll delve into the technology as this review goes on. Now, there's actually another version of this on Amazon now with a rear weighting. This is the low spin model, so it has that forward CG, but there's a more forgiving one on the market for £109.99 with the back weighting. Probably more friendly for a mid to high handicapper, but it does feature an enlarged sweet spot. We have that arrow on top for alignment, and apart from that, we have aerodynamics. But you'll see this driver does feature a low centre of gravity, and they remove weight from the top of the crown to reposition it low and back in the head for low and deep CG. We have a super light head, strong titanium face, and that actually features variable thickness technology that reduces the driver weight, providing faster swing speeds off the tee. Not sure they've got that totally right, because the variable face thickness should enhance ball speed through having more give. But it also features that low centre of gravity. We've got that in twice. They've actually just put that in twice. But we do feature speed channels, and a speed channel is engineered trench. It's a trench. This is amazing. This is really an engineered trench that surrounds the club to help minimise face thickness and provide increased ball speed across the face. So they've got that there. I had to read that off there because, as you can see, it's not worded amazingly well. But the big elephant in the room here is, for like £100, I'm sure second-hand you can get this for like 30 or 40 pounds now if anyone's selling one. We have a swing weight stiff shaft, 45 inches in length, 9.5 degrees in loft, and a stiff flex. Now, is this any good? Because we all know that on the second-hand market, I actually quite like the head shape. The head shape's like that old Titleist 905 shape, like that teardrop effect. Now, first swing outside. Oh, all right. That's okay, that one hasn't gone to plan, but it felt okay. What I'm thinking here is the shaft good enough to kind of catch up with this head? Because often when you buy a cheap driver from somewhere like Amazon or AliExpress or Temu or even eBay, the shaft is the thing that lets it down. So I'm really conscious here to try and give this a proper good test. So much so, we've had Brett, our mid-handicap golfer, hitting this inside as well.
This hit spark.
That was better. So we'll talk some numbers for that when eventually we do talk numbers for this driver. Anyone wondering where Foxy is? He's just working a lot. So we go to the pub and he actually fell off a bike, and we haven't really seen much of him since, but he's okay. He's alive. Come on, let's have a better swing than that. There we go. There we go. I'm not entirely sure if that's gone a long way, but it's nice and straight. It felt okay. It sounded... The best thing about the sound is I can say it doesn't offend me for £100. Now, the big elephant in the room is we know you can get a pretty good affordable driver cha-ching for like £100. You can get an old TaylorMade, an old Titleist, an old Callaway. But if you're in that market where you want to buy something new, or you want to buy your partner a gift for Christmas, something new, etc., etc., is this a viable shout? That's going to be the big test. Doesn't look bad, does it? Like, I don't mind the look of it, to be honest. Right, come on. Big high draw. Nope. Nope. That didn't feel like a bad swing either. But probably should have shouted 4 on that one as well. I don't think anyone's over there, so we're okay. Head cover, quite strong, although it's white. So not a winter head cover. Now, I must admit, I've bought a lot of shit. I have. I've bought a lot of rubbish golf clubs, I've bought a lot of good golf clubs, and I've bought a lot of really good value second-hand clubs, and that's where companies like this may well struggle, because there's so much value in that second-hand market. I feel like if I hit one good one, The other two didn't feel bad, but the face didn't feel like it squared up. Like, I don't feel like it was necessarily a bad swing, and that's where you might get caught. Because as soon as you make a good swing, you don't get a good result, you might as well not bother. Oh, there is someone there. Ooh, I shouted the first time. One thing I'll say is front to back dispersion. So the one we hit good, quite happy with that. The other two, we killed these gentlemen here, but I think they're okay. They've not done that bad, like for distance. Accuracy is another thing, but distance, almost as good as the one in the middle. Okay, so if it's squaring the club face up, which is the issue, potentially could be one of those drivers where you just have to get the rhythm right. You just have to make sure that you know exactly what you're doing from the top of the backswing, or from transition, as it were. For me, I often quite enjoy drivers like that, because although the shaft is a stiff shaft, it's certainly not the best weighted shaft. It feels very light. Actually feels short as well. Is it the same? We'll test it against this Paradigm on the next tee actually. It is shorter by half an inch, maybe an inch. Depends who you ask. Get to the top, nice relaxed transition. There we go. All of a sudden, my whole ideology about this club's totally changed, because now I know how I need to react with this driver. Now I know what I need to do with it, essentially what I need to do to make it work for me. I actually think it might not be a bad driver for a lot of golfers. You see, I generally do have quite a quick transition. I'm quite aggressive. It's not necessarily a bad thing, but it's also not necessarily a good thing. So if this driver is designed just to get to the top and have a nice loose transition, that's going to suit way more golfers than it's not going to suit. And that shows potentially they have put a little bit of work into this, or they've just done a blind test and got relatively lucky. That's another one. Look at that, a little bit higher, same shape. If they've gone the same distance, which we will check in a second, then I'm quite impressed with that, because one was high out the face, one was low out the face. And as we know, we have an oversized sweet spot on this driver. And as you all saw, I kind of mocked the technology sheet of this driver, but if someone's been put in the position of probably marketing this driver and advertising it and really don't know what they're doing, then you shouldn't really take that out on the brand, because the brand have obviously tried quite hard to make the sweet spot oversized, to get that weighting forward, to have that kind of speed channel on the face. If someone at Amazon's just typed it wrong, then it's not great for sales, but it doesn't necessarily make it a terrible club, especially for the price. And remember, the question here is this the best value driver on the internet? I mean, don't get me wrong, there's some good value clubs out there, isn't there? Does Costco have a website? Potentially. Oh yeah. Oh, that's 3 for 3. And it did take some getting used to. Let's talk numbers and see if this thing's the real deal for me and Brett. So as you can imagine, I have tested this Amazon driver in the studio, and it was a little bit hit and miss. So some of the shots just didn't go very far at all, and some of them, if I managed to get them bang out the middle, I managed to get the spin rate down a little bit, so they would carry around kind of 250, 260 yards. Now, that's nothing to be sniffed at for me. A good drive for me with an expensive driver is around 275, maybe 280 yards. So the fact that I can get this driver out there, as you can see, a pretty decent distance. I mean, totaling 280 yards, I think there's definitely something in it. I would like to test it with a more expensive premium shaft in there, but certainly I think the head does have its limits, as you can see with that drive there that felt like a good drive, to be honest. Oh, I've got an email. Moving on, Brett tried this driver, and it's fair to say he struggled with it. He couldn't really kind of get the dynamic loft down, he couldn't get the spin down, and I think you definitely have to know what you're going to do with this driver. So that's probably a point to think about. If you look 4,300 spin there, if you are looking at a budget driver, do you know how potentially you could use it to the best of your abilities? Great shot there, Brett, for 5,000 Now,
spin.
hopefully you've all not tuned off after those first initial bad drives, because this could well be the cat amongst the proverbial pigeons. I think I've said that right, but they're the same distance pretty much, and that last one is bang smack in the middle at quite a decent distance. Let's test it against the Callaway Paradigm AI Smoke and see just what the big difference potentially is for that huge gulf in price and tech and fitting and looks. You get it, there's a gulf. Okay, so as you've seen, performance, interesting. Now what about out here on the course where it counts against one of the best, potentially the best, and one of the most expensive drivers of 2024. Now both these drivers are low spin. As you can see, the AI Smoke does feature interchangeable weights, so you can make it less low spin or more low spin, lower spin or higher spin. And of course, both these drivers feature different shafts in them. The Paradigm does have a hazardous 6.0 shaft. A lot of people will be saying this isn't a fair test because you need to put the same shaft in them. If you can get a hazardous 6.0 shaft in a driver that costs £100, be my guest. The whole point is you're buying a package and not just the head. A lot of you will understand that. Unfortunately, some people don't. But this is one for one chance, one opportunity. Sounds like M&M. Can we set a good stall out with the Amazon special? Oh, it's left, but I think that's long. It's fading back though. Right, that is probably level with the 150 markers. You know what? That felt quite good. It sounded good. It was a nice ball flight. It's faded back into the rough. For £100, you might not like what I'm going to say here, and this comparison may work, it may well not, but if you're a recreational golfer and you don't want to spend a lot of money, should you? Right, that's an absolute bomb. That's an absolute, it'd be interesting to see how far past it that is, because that's middle of the fairway. I reckon there's probably 20 yards there, but hear me out here. If you're a recreational golfer, if you're a beginner golfer, if you really don't want to spend a lot of money on golf, should you get something like this? I think the next test to do is a second-hand driver for the same price, isn't it? And then see exactly what's performing, because then pound for pound, there's no real arguments, is there?